Okay, hi everyone. I just switched computers real quickly so I can upload chapter 11. It should be going up right now. Anyway, so this is for Wrede. This is chapter 12 of Talking to Dragons, in which they ask many questions. No verdict yet on whether they actually get any answers, but we'll see. We looked at each other and then at the elf. What you can do, said Shiara, is answer some questions. My dear lady, I would be delighted, the elf said. What do you want to know? Why were you following us? The dragon rumbled. I thought she was asking the questions, said the elf. We're all asking questions, Shiara told him, so you can just stop dodging and answer that one. What one? The elf said. The dragon growled and made a snapping motion at the elf, who jerked back hastily. Yeah, of course. He said, that question. I was, looking for information. Information? Ha, said Shiara. What kind of information? Who you are, where you're going, and what you're going to do when you get there, the elf replied promptly. He was pointedly not looking at the dragon. That's all, Shiara said sarcastically. It sounds a lot like what we want to know about you. How nice, the elf said, beaming. We have something in common. Excuse me, I broke in, but who exactly are you? The elf looked at me with a pained expression. I'm an elf. I could see that, I said politely, but would you mind telling me your name? I mean, I'd sort of like to know to whom I'm speaking to. My dear boy, I would be delighted. The elf rose and bowed with a flourish. My name, he said, is Janril. He sat down again and looked at me expectantly. Pleased to meet you, Janril. That is Shiara. This is Shiara, that's Night Witch. I hesitated a moment. Dragons don't pick their names until they're old enough to pick what sex they're going to be too, and I wasn't quite sure how to introduce one. I couldn't leave it out, though. This is a dragon. Somehow I guessed. The elf muttered, and I'm Daystar, I finished. Shiara was frowning at me, but before she could say anything, the elf bounced to his feet and said, Daystar, not Simmering, son. My dear boy, I can't tell you how glad I am you've finally come. It's about time things got straightened out a little. I don't trust elves, Shiara said, and why should we listen to you anyway? My dear girl, if you expect me to answer your questions, you're going to have to listen to me, said the elf. Otherwise, there's no point in it. Why don't you trust elves? Shiara didn't want to tell him anything, but I was beginning to like him. Also, I didn't see any good reason not to explain, so I told him about the first elf and the wizard's staff. When I finished, General nodded solemnly. That, he said, makes your position entirely understandable. I'm afraid you ran into one of the dark morning elves. They're a rather disreputable lot. They've been running wild since the king disappeared, so of course they'd cause you trouble. Why, of course, said Shiara suspiciously, and what king are you talking about? The king of the enchanted forest, the elf said. The dark morning elves don't want him to come back. They like the way things have been run since he disappeared. Since you have a sword, of course, they want to get rid of you. If they can, he added thoughtfully. Personally, I don't think they really know what they're doing. How do you know about Daystar's sword? Shiara asked suspiciously. My dear girl, everyone who lives in the enchanted forest knows something about the vanished king's sword, General said. Wait a minute, I said. I only have one sword, and I thought it was called the Sword of the Sleeping King. Sleeping, vanish, run away. What difference does it make, General said. He's gone. I don't care about the sword, the dragon said. I want to know why you were following us. The elf looked annoyed. My dear, dragon, he said. I told you already. I wanted to find out more about you. I believe that's the usual reason for following people around. The usual reason. Sounds like he does it all the time. But that doesn't explain anything, the dragon complained. Shiara's eyes narrowed suddenly. All right, then. Why did you want to know more about us? General considered for a moment, then grinned reluctantly. Because I'm trying to find out what the Dark Morning Elves are up to. What does it have to do with us? I asked. If I knew that, I wouldn't have to follow you, the elf said reasonably. But the Dark Morning Elves have been very active in this part of the woods for the past few days. We thought it might be you they were interested in. And, of course, if they're interested, so are we. Who do you mean by we? I said. The Gold-Winged Shadow Music Elves, General said with a touch of pride. We are on the side of the king, even if he is missing right now. We follow the sword. What does that mean? Shiara demanded. And how many kinds of elves are there? Quite a few, said General, but the only ones you have to watch out for are the Dark Morning Elves and the Silverstaff Elves. Fortunately, the Silverstaff Elves don't know the sword is back yet, but I doubt that your luck will hold much longer. How do you know these Silverstaff Elves don't know about Daystar's sword? Shiara asked. My dear girl, if they did, you'd have wizards all over the place. The Silverstaff Elves are in league with them. Undiscriminating, that's all I can call it. General looked prim. A prim elf is almost as odd-looking as a dignified lizard. I found myself wishing Sues were still around so I could compare them. He's going to show up if you think him. How do we know you're telling the truth? Shiara said. I suppose you don't, the elf said cheerfully, but it doesn't really matter. We'll still be glad to help you. Shiara snorted. The last elf who said he was going to help us almost got Daystar killed. I'm sorry about that, General said politely, but I simply can't take responsibility for the Dark Morning Elves. Now I must be going. I I have to let the rest of the Goldwing Shadow Music Elves know what's going on. We'll see you at the castle. Just a minute, Shiara said. What makes you think we're going to let you go? Can you think of anything else we could do with him? I said. I could eat him, I suppose, the dragon said dubiously. I don't think I want to, though. Elves don't taste very good. I decided not to ask how the dragon knew that. Right. You don't have to eat him, I said. I think we should just let him go. But, Daystar, Shiara stopped and thought for a moment, biting her lip. All right. I think we should just let him go. But are you sure? I said, surprised. I thought you didn't like the idea. I don't, Shiara said, glaring at me. But we'll be here all day if we start arguing. Besides, it's your sword. All right, I said to General. You can go as long as you don't follow us around anymore. But of course. The elf bounced to his feet again, bowed to each of us, including Night Witch, and whisked off. Shiara scowled after him and opened her mouth, then apparently decided not to say anything. Well, let's go, I said after a minute. We picked up our bundles and started walking again. The dragon and I both watched the trees for a while, but General kept his promise. Shiara walked just behind the dragon, looking thoughtful. Did you really believe that, elf? She asked me. I'm not sure, I said. I don't think it makes much difference, though. I'd still be going to see Kazul no matter what he said. I want to find out about the sword and what it does and what's really going on around here. I must have sounded annoyed because Shiara frowned at me and asked, What's the matter with you? I'm getting sort of tired of people chasing my sword, I said. I'd like to know why they want it so badly. I was also beginning to realize that I didn't know nearly as much about the Enchanted Forest as I thought I did, which made me very nervous. I wasn't going to mention that to Shiara just yet, though. Oh, Shiara looked thoughtful again. Well, you could... The dragon looked backward over its shoulder. You're slowing down, it said. Can't you two talk and walk at the same time? Oh. We made a fairly good time for the rest of the afternoon, and we were just beginning to think about finding a place to spend the night when we came to a clearing. The dragon stopped right at the edge of it very abruptly. Fortunately, Shiara and I were back far enough to stop before we ran into it or stepped on its tail or something. Bumping into a dragon is not a particularly good way to end a day. What's the matter now? Asked Shiara. This one looks just like the last clearing, the dragon said. The one that had the castle in it. You mean we've been going in circles, Shiara said. No, said the dragon. I know my way around the Enchanted Forest better than that. I just don't like this. Why are you worried, Shiara said. You're not the one who got turned into a statue. Well, if you think banging into something you can't see is fun, you go first, said the dragon. I put my hand on the hilt of my sword and felt a nice strong rumble, like a cart full of bricks on a bumpy road. There was definitely a lot of magic in the clearing, at least close by. I said so. If it's invisible, I don't want anything to do with it, Shiara said decidedly. Can't we just go around? No, said the dragon grumpily. I want to know who's putting all these invisible things in my shortcut. If there's another one here, I'm going to find out about it. I stalked cautiously out into the clearing, heading straight through the middle. Nothing happened. The dragon walked all the way across, then turned and looked at us. Are you sure there's something here? I can't find anything. Oh no. I touched the sword again. It feels like there is, I said. I looked at Shiara. She looked dubiously across the clearing. Hurry up, said the dragon. I sighed and started forward. I kept one hand on the hilt of my sword, just in case, and I walked across the same part of the clearing the dragon had. Shiara shook her head and started around the edge of the clearing. Oh boy. I got about 5 steps. Oh no! Then there was a whooshing noise, and a wall of flames shot up around me, very hot and bright. I yelled because I couldn't see where I was going, and I yanked at my sword. I think I had some vague idea that the sword might keep me from burning to death. I certainly couldn't see to fight anything. Something hit me in the middle of my back just as the sword came out of its sheath. I felt a wave of anticipation from the sword, followed very closely by a surge of disappointment. I was so surprised, I nearly dropped it. Then I realized that it wouldn't matter if I did drop it because I was lying on the ground. I was also much cooler than I had been a minute ago, and someone was pounding on me. Stop it, I said. And then someone sat back, and I saw it was Shiara. Are you all right? She asked. I think so, I said. Why were you pounding on me? Your clothes were on fire, Shiara said. I was trying to put them out. If I'd known you were going to fuss about it, I'd have let them burn. I love her so much. She's so great. I apologized and thanked her, then looked around. Shiara and I were sitting on the ground, just inside a ring of fire. In the center of the ring was John and Cash. Was a short, round building with a pointed roof. It wasn't quite tall enough to call a tower, but it wasn't short enough to call a house either. I moved away from the flames, which were uncomfortably warm, and looked at Shiara. What happened? How should I know? One second you were walking across the clearing, and the next second there was all this fire and you were yelling. Shiara said, when I tried to shove you out of it, we both got in here instead, and that thing was sitting there. She waved at the not-quite tower. At least it isn't invisible, I offered. Shiara gave me a disgusted look, but she didn't say anything. Hello? Called the dragon's voice from the other side of the wall of fire. Are you there? We're here, I called back. Both of us? How did you do that? The dragon shouted. I don't know, I said, and I don't want to stay here to find out. I picked myself up off the ground and put the sword back in its sheath. I think maybe we'd better go, I said to Shiara, before something comes out of that house. It isn't a house, Shiara said, but for once I agree with you. Oh no. Achoo, said the dragon from the other side of the fire. There's a wizard. Just a minute there, a voice said behind me. I turned around. A medium-sized man was standing about 10 feet away, leaning on a staff that was about 3 feet taller than he was. He had black hair and 3 rings on each hand, and he was frowning irritably at Shiara and me. Ugh, rats, said Shiara disgustedly. Another wizard. You, said the man, ignoring her statement completely, are trespassing. I don't know how you got in here, but it was a great mistake for you to do so. We didn't exactly do it on purpose, I said. We were just trying to get across the clearing. Young man, I surround my home with a wall of fire for a reason, the wizard said, and the reason is I do not like to be disturbed. Maybe you shouldn't have an invisible tower in the middle of a field. I wish to know how you penetrated it, or I would not be wasting my time talking with you. I'm a fire witch, that's how, Shiara said. And if you don't want to be disturbed, you ought to be more careful with your stupid wall. We would have gone right by if it hadn't jumped up all over Daystar when he tried to cross the clearing. A fire witch, the man said. He gave Shiara an extremely odd look. You haven't mislaid an invisible castle recently, have you? No, said Shiara, it isn't mine. The wizard looked even angrier. You know of it? Well, sort of, I said. It isn't ours, but we ran into it this morning. Did you? Said the wizard. He sounded skeptical and very dangerous. I decided I didn't want to talk about the castle anymore. I think we ought to be going now, I said. We're really sorry to have bothered you. I'm not, Shiara said. Shiara? Well, I'm not, Shiara said. You ought to apologize to us, not the other way around. And anyway, I'm not apologizing to any wizard, especially not one that messes around with invisible castles. The man with the staff frowned, but this time he looked more thoughtful than angry. What is your complaint against wizards? Do you have a day? Ha, said Shiara. You should know. No, said the man, I should not. I am not a wizard. Oh. What? Achoo, came the dragon's voice, and the wall of fire bulged inward on that side. Excuse me, but if you're not a wizard, why are you carrying a staff, I asked, and why is the dragon sneezing? The dragon looked startled. Dragon? You travel with a dragon? No, it travels with us, I said. Does it make a difference? Perhaps, the man said. He looked at the wall of fire and made a pass with his staff. The flames began to die, and a moment later we could see the clearing again. Who the hell is this? I'm very confused. Okay, I'm going to read the next chapter, because, what?